The time is just gone, 19 minutes past 9 a.m. as we continue with the broadcast this morning, and we still have got a lot of ground to cover on this day of Jummah. If you have just tuned in, we welcome you to the show, our listeners, our viewers at Salam Media, and also our listeners at One Nation 88.9 FM out of Polokwane. Wonderful that you are able to join us. Now, we are covering the issue surrounding the Indian Supreme Court, and there is division on the restriction of hijabs in the classroom. We're talking about the Supreme Court in India, which is split on the Karnataka hijab ban. And on the one hand, we are talking about secularism. On the other hand, we are talking about a matter of choice. And also the whole question surrounding where Muslims are in India. We are joined on the line this morning by Dr. Faisal Suliman, from the chairperson of SAMNET. Dr. Faisal, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jummah Mubarak to you and welcome.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakallah Inayat for the opportunity, and Jummah Mubarak to you and the listeners.
Yes, very interesting that the Supreme Court in India is actually split on this decision with regards to the hijab ban in Karnataka, where on the one hand, the one judge validates a ban, saying it was to promote uniformity, encourage a secular environment in classrooms, while another judge says that the right to wear hijab in classrooms is a matter of choice, a fundamental right, and linked to a girl's dignity and her privacy, even when she is inside the school gates. So, this obviously is quite an interesting development, looking at how the Supreme Court and the two judges are actually viewing this issue of the hijab ban in Karnataka.
No, you're quite right. And look, the law may be one, and of course, day by day, the BJP is eroding the secular nature of what the founding fathers of modern or post-independent India wanted. And this is not unique. People just have to go back and look at the United States. The sitting president appoints justices to the Supreme Court, and those favors are paid back. We saw it with George W. One appointing people and who voted in favor of George W. Bush against Al Gore, in those courts, and it was all the Bush one appointees. We saw it with Donald Trump. We see it in France, or what's supposed to be in the bastion of secular democracy, with the court after court ruling in favor of not allowing burkinis or scarves. And we see it here, the secular nature. So judges are not without influence from the public, not without influence from their own political, ideology. And clearly, when you have pressure as being put on by the right wing, we see it in South Africa. I know people from the Hindu faith who were previously quite strong in the anti-apartheid movement or activists, who now decidedly anti-Muslim, and many of them who aren't, coming under severe pressure from right-wing elements. And I know people personally, doctors, etc. So clearly, societal pressure, political pressure has an influence on the court. And as you say, this is going to go now to the Supreme Court to decide. And given the sort of what is happening in India, it's anybody's guess how the Supreme Court can eventually make become the final arbiter. What from the SAMNET point of view, what we are asking our public to do. Obviously we collect funds and we make dua that goes without saying. But a lot of people use social media often for personal, personal reasons, whether posting, looking at gossip, or whether you're following whatever, football, fashion, whatever. And we're saying to people, a lot of the communities use 10, 15 minutes of social media a day to just highlight issues. And here, we have two examples at the moment, which we are not, showing up the mainstream media. We need to show them up. We need to show up the politicians. And now we've got this Priyanka Chopra cutting her hair in protest against the hijab. Now, Iran, the Shia nature of it, the whole issue around, whether you force people to wear hijab or become a choice are separate discussions. Even if you, obviously, you don't agree with Shiism itself. But Covering your hair is an Islamic precept. So there's no discussion on that. That women have to cover the hair. It's debatable whether the niqab is fard or not, but that's another issue. But clearly, at least the headscarf, I don't think there's any disagreement or difference of opinion on. But we have all of these the people like this Indian starlet suddenly in and even in Israel suddenly in solidarity with the women of Iran. So we've got two glaring ones at the moment. One is Russia's annexation of some land in Ukraine or some areas, and the hypocrisy of people saying, "Oh, how wrong it is." And on a day-by-day basis, we know what Israel is annexing day by day more land and destroying Palestinian land, and the silence on that. And secondly, this hypocrisy of saying, "Okay, we're all in support of this woman's right to so if that is the question of choice, where is then the support of the women who choose to wear the headscarf in Europe and all of those countries, Belgium, France, Denmark, all of this, where they've banned it or they're in the process of it? I mean, our new incumbent Italian Prime Minister doesn't want to see any more mosques built. She wants to appoint the imams. She wants to have to know what the sermon is going to be like before it's given, right? Where's the freedom of choice there? And of course, where's the solidarity with people in India who voluntarily, young girls who voluntarily want to wear a headscarf in school? So I think what we're asking our community and our public in a very respectful, we never say to people, be rude, be abusive, use expletives, all of that. Respectful logic is to take to social media and show up both the politicians, these starlets like Priyanka Chopra, and of course the mainstream media, the blatant hypocrisy. Some of these well-known, the Piers Morgans of the world, some of these well-known talk show hosts, locally, internationally, we have to show up the hypocrisy, and it's so effective to be able to do it on Twitter, particularly. And this is our appeal. If you don't know how, SAMNET is happy to show you how, train you, use half an hour of your day every day, 15 minutes also, to go on to these things and become at least a social media activist on some of these issues. And it makes a difference, getting a whole lot of tweets showing you up, it makes a big difference.
Well, I think, Faisal, what you're saying is extremely important because just this week, again, you spoke about Europe and we've learned about the Swiss government obviously sending a draft law in the parliament, and it happened this week, talking about fining people with regard to hijab and up to 1,000 Swiss francs. So this is a law that they want to implement, and this has come through from a far right group. Now, with all of this actually playing out, and as you speak about social media highlighting issues, but issues that actually add value, because sometimes what happens is, we discuss these issues, we will talk about the hijab ban, we'll talk about Iran, we'll talk about all these things, but then we get caught up in many other semantics which are counterproductive. Then we get personal, then we get labeling. So we're discussing an issue, but on the other side, it becomes a big bun fight amongst ourselves. And this is something we need to refrain from.
Yeah, look, it's this woke culture, this cancel culture, this culture of disregarding just etiquette. And this is the strangest thing. We have the prime example in our lives. We have just passed Rabi al-Awwal, big fanfare about love for the Prophet and Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and how important it should be in our lives, obviously. And then our behavior is the total opposite, and I have to, say, and sometimes it's certain ulama leading by example of bad behavior. So I'm saying, as you rightfully have said, this is the issue at the moment, the double standards that is topical now. At the moment, there's two glaring double standards that we have. Land grab, which is bad which is wrong for Russia, but okay for Israel and the United States, and this support for women for freedom of choice in Iran. Versus it's not okay for brown people or anybody else. So I'm saying, as you said, forget the other semantics. Concentrate on these two things only. I mean, you can imagine Priyanka Chopra getting 5,000 tweets. Piers Morgan, I'm just using an example because he's so duplicitous. Right? There are others like him, the guys on Fox News, etc. But we have to pick your battles. And if Priyanka Chopra wants to be out there, and she's got millions of followers, both now in India and in the UK, US, and etc., then let's pick on her. Respectfully, just asking the question. And like I said, we're happy at SAMNET to show you how to tweet, what to tweet in a logical fashion. Simple things like this. Okay, so it's okay for Iran. What about the children in India? Do they not have the rights of freedom of choice, Priyanka? Something like this. That pressure, as you say, forget all of the other side issues, which you know thing you come from and everywhere else. Let's concentrate on those issues. Let's make an example. Allah is going to hold us accountable. We have to ask for so much forgiveness for our inaction when we see what is happening to the rest of the ummah and we just not doing anything or trying anything. Success ultimately is in Allah's hands, but effort is in ours. And we're going to have to answer that our du'as were the most least things we could do. And is that what we chose? For our businesses, for our personal selves, we don't choose the most lowest denominator or the least thing we can do. We choose to do the best, whether it's work, whether it's holiday, whether it's our pleasure. We want the best. For our religion, we seem to be doing the one and only small thing. Okay, let's make dua. And, okay, let's donate some money for relief. But we have this tool in your hands. It can take 5 or 10 minutes a day, your mobile phone, where you can do so much. You can really put pressure. You can highlight the issues. There are billions of Muslims in the world. We just need a couple 100,000 to get involved. And in South Africa, a few thousand to start doing this. From home, doesn't matter whether you are a working mom at home or working at, in your lunchtime, in the evenings. Take 5 minutes, to drop your TV or whatever else, or your social media checking, whatever it is you're checking on other things. Just do this, inshallah. At least we'll have something on the day of Qiyamah to present Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and say, you know what, I tried doing this. Yes, I made some dua, but when the ummah was falling apart, when I had the luxury of going to an air-conditioned masjid and doing everything else and people couldn't even pray, I tried to do this for them. I think that must be our motivation, if nothing else, that we are going to be answerable for our inaction.
Well, Faisal, I must say, Jazakallah for that wise words and a lot of food for thought in what you have just said and shared with us in the last few minutes. Jazakallah as always for your time. Have yourself a great Jummah, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Dr. Faisal Suliman, SAMNET with us this morning. And with that, we're going to head for the break. We come back, we'll be joined by healthcare practitioner, Dr. Fahima Ismail. Also, Zainab Jassat. We're talking with the Al Iman Foundation Girls Orphanage.